Hello friends, today I'm going to talk about ArrayList. ArrayList is more similar to array, and there are certain things that is different that makes ArrayList very popular. And ArrayList is the class that implements the list interface. So there will be features that we're going to play with today, what ArrayList could do. There are certain things that ArrayList makes things popular is because of its dynamic nature. So the thing that are different with array and array lists are that array you have to define the size of array, whereas in array list you don't. In array list you can have your your array can grow dynamically based on the demand. So you can have so the array list initially will have a size of 10 and then it will dynamically grow. So we're gonna play along with this course a little bit on that coding exercise, as well as we're gonna show you how the array works, so that it probably will help you more understanding how the array list is working. So let's go with the exercise. I'm going to create a new class here. I have a brand new package called collections. So the class, I'm going to name this as my array list. Okay, so there's a class. Before going ahead, I'm going to create one main method here so that we can run this as we need. Before making array list coding, I'm going to write some array, so that gives you some kind of idea. So my array would be m dot my string array. So that is my method's name. I'm going to write that method. So this is my method. Here I want to define a string array. My str equals new string, right? And then this would be, let's say I need to just give the size of 3. And next thing, this size of 3, it will start from 0. So 0, 1, 2, that's the maximum you can do here, and it cannot go up to 3, which is a 4th, right? So my str, and then you have to give fill in the values for each one of this. So I say 1, 2, 3. So this is 3, 3 is 2, this is 1. And one more thing, you don't have to define everything. You can have it null, it's fine too. So let's say you want to print this out. You have to give my str and then give the index number, right? So if I run this out, and obviously it's gonna print me 3, right? So I have to give the index number, and that's how the array thing works. So it is size of 3. There's my other video that you can watch how array works, that how you can loop that over and over, because this topic is not for array but the array list. This is what I was trying to show, how you would write the array, right? So basically define, and then you give the size. There are other ways too. You can write array, which would be, and then you can just give the value directly, right, like that, and then that would be fine too. That this would replace this whole thing, single line, right? You can choose one then the other, and then you fill in the values, and then you give this. Either if you don't want to give one specific array, then you would have to do the for loop, like then I is less than my str dot, right, and then I plus plus, then what you would write, you write this instead of 2, you write I. So if you want to loop that over and over, and then you might want to run it like this, right? Then it will print you everything that 1 2 3. So basically that's the array works, right? So but we don't want to do this. There's some things that you can't work with array better. So one of the only thing that array is better than the array list is array also works with the primitive and non-primitive data types. So if you want to do int array, you would just say a equals new int, right? And then you can just do like this. But that's what you can't do, because primitive data types, int is a primitive data types, and in the array this is being wrapped with auto boxing feature that Java has, and that would make that into integer, and then that's what you have to define. We'll go through that later, for now let's move on to ArrayList. I hope this has been clear so far. So let's go to ArrayList. What does ArrayList do? ArrayList, first thing is you don't have to give these sizes. Those are given to you like by the nature. That's how it does. So initial ArrayList will have a 10 default indexing size, and then going further the ArrayList would go like this. The maximum equals current capacity times something like that 2 by 3, then that's basically the mathematics that plus 1. So that's basically the mathematics the ArrayList would do, and based on that it will give you the definition of how many size it can grow. So growing is again and how you are calling it, right? If you are demanding it, that's only when it will grow, otherwise it won't. So let me write that some example of ArrayList would do. Public void my ArrayList demo. Okay, so what you can do with the ArrayList demo, let me call this out also, and I'm going to comment this guy out. I don't want to run that anymore. And then what I want to do is I want to give this ArrayList a equals new ArrayList, right? ArrayList a equals, and then so what do you do? ArrayList is the class. This one you just create an object, right? You just instantiate the class ArrayList just as usual, nothing different, just like you would do for any other classes, right? So this is the ArrayList, and then and friends, if you want to know what ArrayList is, there are my another videos that explains more on the theory or the concept how the ArrayList and each one of these classes will work. I have the detailed video, please watch that video. So here what I would do is I can now use all the methods that ArrayList would have. So a dot, if you do that, and you can see so many classes that you can use that ArrayList is already defining. So their size, there's a to array. If there's some list of objects that you want to define into the ArrayList into the array, then you can use this. Or you can have iterator, we'll go through that. That basically is looping around. And then there are add, and then there are add all, clear, clone, all of these features you can use, and those are as demand, right? So I want to add some value. If I want to add the value, so here what you would do, you would give the index number and then you add, or you could just do like this. And there are some issues that getting this can be very lengthy, and you cannot handle if there are more than hundreds or more than 50. You don't want to end up writing each one of the items. You want to get them on the fly, right? So I want to add values on this. So add, I say my array, right? So and then all I do is semicolon. So this is a string type, right? I can also add that with the integer type. I can just say numbers, right? I can also add any different type. So just put like you want to do some doubles and 03, just add some decimal number, right? Or you could just do what else you can do, any characters or whatever. So here, if I want to just print this out, I can just say array, and then I would just run this guy over, and then look what it did. So it created me the arrays, and then it print me out all different numbers. Some are doubles, some are integer, and some are string, right? And but there's an issue with that. It lets you add and do stuff, but there are things that you want to get more organized. You don't want to end up saying, oh, this array is basically the garbage can that contains any different things, right? Then you cannot really play with this to represent some specific thing, because the concept collections actually came in to represent all similar kinds of things. So take this as to be your array, right? So this will only take this string type because it's a string array, right? So just like that, you'll have to use them with more organized way. So there are things you can use with the array list, and these ones basically just represent you on like creating a list, but that does not help you doing more logical coding inside this getting into the list. Okay, so so let's do this. I want to do this. I don't want to do like this. I want to do some different features what array could do, because I will tell you that. First thing is, there are so many issues here. First thing is, this guy is not the standard way we would implement the array, because array, right, array list implements a list interface. How we would implement the list interface, what I want to do is, I don't want to use what array list is doing. I want to basically just take a feature what the list has, and then I want to observe all of those features, those are being overwritten into the array list. So that's how you would basically create an instance of interfaces, right? So you do list, let's do that for later. What is that? A equals new array list, right? And then what you do, this would ask for import. So I do you import, and then it imports me. So now if I want to run this, let's see what happens. So it does the same thing, right? But here's a difference. So the way you do this versus the way you do this, you are basically you are explicitly asking it to be create this A guy to be the array list, right? But this guy is actually the object of the list that only looks for the things that are being overwritten, and it will take the pieces that is in the array list that what you want to see, right? So this is what it's called hiding the implementation. That's how you would create all like interfaces, object, and then so that you can play with what actually implementation is expected to just show you, right? That's what you want to implement. So what I do is list A equals new array list. Also I get the same value. There's nothing different. There is still issues I'm finding because I don't want to end up going through all various data, and these data, some are strings, some are this, and this is very hard to deal with if you have all different kinds of this, because this list, there's no such a way you can actually filter this out, or you could end up writing long lengthy code, right, in your route to do that. So what Java implemented is called something called generics, right? Something called generics. What generics do is, generics is something that will restrict you from putting all like vague data, right? Or you can put like all different type of data. You want to limit to yourself how you want to put, just like your array does. It is putting only strings, just like that. Java implemented the generics. That generics helps. Generics means basically the class name or the data type. So whatever data type, this would be the right data type, but what the data type is only non-primitive. So basically only the reference data, so only non-primitive. You cannot put the direct data, which means like int, right? What are primitive and non-primitive? How you would differentiate? If the data types has a lowercase, all lowercase, then those are non-primitive. Those are not part of the object. Okay, only array will take them. So like here, array is taking them, but here you cannot give them. And how you do the generics, you have the angle brackets like this. That's what you would give right after this, so that you will tell what type of data this list contains, right? That's what it's trying to force. So if I need to give this as a string and I want to limit to string, I would give like this, a string. And it's a best practice to give across both sides. That's considered to be really best practice. So here now, if you see, we put this line number here. So line numbers. So if you see 40 and 41 is showing error, and if I want to run this, I cannot because it's throwing me compile error, right? So I have to get this guy commented out for now. And let's say instead of a string, I want to put int, right? And now let's uncomment this guy out and save this. Now you see, you don't see error here because it already errored out here. You cannot give the primitive data type into generics. That is the law, that is the rule. Okay. So to do this, or to handle this, Java implemented the feature called wrapper. So this is the wrapper class. That wrapper class that represents the numbers, right? So it's called integer, right? Integer is the wrapper for int. So now what you see, line 40 is good, but not this guy. Okay. And string is not good. There's another one. If I want to make the other guy happy, I can put basically double. Double is the wrapper class for the double. Only the different with the wrapper classes are int, right? And what else? Integer, int, string. String is already string. No, there's not, primitive data types. If that's all. You have other videos to watch on the data types. So double. If it's a double, now you see this decimal guy is happy, other two aren't, right? So we don't want to do that. So I want to keep up to simple, and so let me take these two guys out, and then let's make this more standard. So I'm making this string, right? I make this a string. So A represents only string now. It does not let me add any more, right? So this is array, right? Let's say a dot add. This would be let's say Jack, right? And here I want to do some of these things that you want to see. So size of my list plus a dot size. So friends, this size is the method that is part of the list, so that will give you the size of this list. Okay, so now in this case it will give me 3. And now you want to see how this will run. You can give, if you want to get this, like let's say first one you want to print this, there's a call get, and get, you provide the index number. Index number starts from 0, and then you can do the same thing just like you did in the array. Only thing different in the array is you go through square braces, as opposed to list you just do dot get. Okay, so let's run this guy out. So size of my list is 3. My array is the first guy to add. And now I want to handle all these things. There's no point you want to just deal with one single index, right? So here's the thing, what you can do, you want to handle all different loop, then you have to loop all different data, then you have to loop. In reality, you don't just have 2 or 3 values, 3 size of list. It can be dynamic, right? We just spoke. It could be 100, 250, 20, 10. It could be unknown. So Let's do that. So here I have a couple of different options I can use in order to loop through the array list. So first thing I can do is for loop, which is simple for loop. Int I equals 0, right? I is less than a is your list dot size. Only thing different here is in array you do a dot length and without the parenthesis, and here you have to give because size is the method. And then next is I plus plus, and then open this guy up. Now I want to get this here. Instead of 0 I'm providing I because I need to get this guy, right? So let's run this out, and I see everything is there. And one more thing, ArrayList, you might watch my other video, but ArrayList, what it does is it preserves the insertion order. It takes from what's first, second, third. Okay, that we're going to talk later about the set. That's what it doesn't. Set will take only unique values and no duplicates, and doesn't guarantee you the insertion order. So next thing, what's the array list? Array list is slower in the sense, like if you want to remove something in the middle, and then what it happens is it will have to shift all of those following values into from the indexes, so it has to shrink the size. So what it does is it has shifting operations, so that causes it to be slow if you are trying to remove something. And if you want to do that, you have to better do through the linked list. If you are trying to look for the searching operations or you know, retrieving values, ArrayList is much faster because you just provide the index number and it is boom, it's right there, right? So there are certain things that you can use to benefit with the ArrayList, and certain things you might want to avoid, and there are other things that are in place. So here I did loop, and that is one type of loop. You could just use a simple loop, and where it plays a role is here, a dot size, right? So a dot size, spacing doesn't matter, a dot size, like this. This is the guy that plays the main role. Same thing you could do with this guy. So here, which is called enhanced for loop. So I say for, then I have to provide what type of this value is, which is a string. Then there's a column. That column says goes to for each. So this is called enhanced for loop, or you could say for each loop. And then you have to provide this list, which is a in my case. A is the list, and then I would put the same thing as the second part. Second part does not differ. It's the same thing. And now what I do, I don't need to get this guy index, right? All I do is here, now I do AR, right? Only thing different is here you give a, is still you are in the list, right? Same thing with the list. And then you have to get, what you should say is, when you get into the list and get me this index, whatever it increments to, put me that index. That's what you have to do in this type of for loop. There's an enhanced loop. What you do is you just do this string AR. This is, you just define this, get this variable for a string, and then use this variable. What this means, it goes through each loop, it will override this guy over to new values from the second index or third index, right? So what it does is it goes first round AR is going to give me this my array, second time it loops again, and then this my array moves to this guy, right? Second index, second guy. Same thing you can do. Let's run this out, and it will provide you the same thing, nothing different, still same order. And there is another thing you could apply, which is also still in use. Most of the people try to stick to these two of these features based on what they want, but there's another thing I want you to know. That's called iterator. Iterator, this is the string, right? String type, same thing, just the way you did define here, right? Equals an iterator. When you define iterator, what you have to do is you just get like this guy. A is the list dot iterator, right? That's the method you can use. And let's import this. This would come from the util, okay, util package. So and then one thing, my AAR, let's say like this. Now what I do is while AAR dot has next, right? So while this has next, I would say string AS equals AAR dot next, and then I would say, so that's what I do. I would just say as long as it has a next, then get me the next element. As long as it has the next, then get me the next element. So if I need to run this, and look, it does the same thing. Okay, so there are three different ways you can look through the array list. Okay, array list or list, whatever you say. These three things you can apply each one of this. These are like used rarely, that most of the people try to stick to this because these are very simple, but I want you to know this also, and then so that you are more clear in defining array list based on your requirement or how it has been implemented, right? Sometimes this may make more sense, sometimes this does, sometimes this does. This does if you want to identify something within the index and you are trying to compare among them. Sometimes this might be more helpful, sometimes this may be helpful, and so and so. Okay, and sometimes this will be helpful if you want to use two different lists, array list, and then you try to get this index in order to compare values. So you might want to stick to this. If you want to stick to single list, and then you don't worry on indexing, because this will take care of that. Okay, and rest is this here, this piece is called the generics, and generics is, what it means is the generics is basically restricting you from putting in what type of data you want to put it in. Okay, thank you very much. I think this has been very clear, and I think this may have helped you understanding the array list, and hope this has been clear. Thank you very much for watching my video, and please continue to watch and subscribe my channel. Thank you.